Good, I'm glad you made it. Thanks for coming. No, you're not late. You're early. You're not late, Tom. Pizza?
Yeah, it's pizza.
Oh, pizza? Yeah. So if you haven't had supper yet, grab some pizza, get a cup of coffee. There's water. Again, the restrooms are back there too. We do have a sign-in in the front. If you sign in, we can get back to you and give you some follow-up and let you know what's going on. And in addition to that, there is a survey, and I will let Julie a little later in the night explain to you what the survey is for and how it'll be used, and we'll go from there. But we'll start in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Well, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be very casual tonight. I think I've met about everyone in the room, but if you don't know me, my name's Mary Jo Menser, and I am running for the District 15 House seat. And everyone's asked me when the election is. It is in November of next year, so we have a little time. So I'm not here for political reasons tonight, but I did want to introduce myself, and I wanted to let you know what brought my attention to the TCE. I was sitting at a Board of Supervisors meeting on May 22nd, 2025, and a couple of the board members had attended a TCE meeting the night before from the Army Corps' annual update of former Offutt Air Force Base, Atlas D Missile Site 3, Missouri Valley. How many of you were at that meeting that night? Just a couple of you. How many of you have been at a meeting before? Because the DNR has already complained they show the same PowerPoint every single year. So the Board of Supervisors were visiting, and one of the board members said, the best thing that can happen with the TCE is that it gets into the Booyah River and it goes downstream and dilutes into the Missouri River. And I'm sitting there, and I have a son who's an environmental science major, and I have a son-in-law who is an environmental engineer, another son who's in forestry. So we're kind of green at our house in that respect. And I knew when I heard it, that was the last thing we wanted to see happen in our community. I'm going to wait just a second for this gentleman. We just started. Come on in. So I called the Army Corps. And I called the DNR because I wanted more information. And I will say they've both been great about giving me information. The Army Corps has made it very clear to me they are just here to monitor the situation. They are not here to do any more than that. The DNR informed me they are only here to assist the county. We haven't had a lot of assistance with this problem, I don't think. So tonight, we're going to be sharing some stories, and I would like to share with you a few things that people have shared with me in the last few weeks, a few testimonials, and let you know what I have done with them. I would say the number one question I was asked early on, even before I decided to run, because people from the area knew I was a real estate broker, was why do people not have to disclose the TCE when they sell properties? By law, they're supposed to be disclosing the TCE. By law, they are supposed to be disclosing the TCE. When you sell bare land, that is different than when you sell a residential home. When you sell a residential home, there's 3 questions on the seller property disclosure. One of them is, has your water been tested? everyone always marks yes, and that it passed. That is because they are not disclosing if it has been tested for the TCE or not. Because in the state of Iowa, you only have to test by law for nitrates and E. coli. I have spoken with the DNR about that. The DNR shared with me they have given the county $50,000 to test for whatever they want to test for. So you could request a TCE test if you wanted to. It should be paid for. So what have I did in regards to real estate disclosures? October 21st, I sent a letter to both the Iowa Commission, Real Estate Commission, the Nebraska Real Estate Commission, the Iowa Trade Organization, the Nebraska Trade Organization, Southwest Iowa Board of Realtors, and I asked them for two things. One, that they train agents on real estate disclosures. Two, that they educate agents on contamination in the groundwater and in the soil. Because in Cottonwood Hills, if you're not aware, they don't just have contamination in the groundwater. They also have contamination in the soil, a chemical called PCB. And we have a gentleman here tonight that can tell you a little bit about that, because he had it in his lot. The only way to get rid of the PCB is for them to incinerate it. They didn't get enough money from the government when they came in. They kept scraping the PCB soil up and moving it to different lots. Yeah. The second problem that I've been able to identify outside of property disclosures is property tax issues. We have a few folks in here tonight that are being overtaxed. One of the individuals said, these documents, she sent me several documents, are directly related to the contamination in Cottonwood Hills development, to include groundwater test results, right-of-way agreements, and she goes on and on. And she tried to be a problem solver. She tried to ask for her property that was zoned residential, that can no longer be built on, to be rezoned for ag. She got nowhere with the county on that. I am going to go to the Planning and Zoning Board on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. if anyone's bored and wants to come along, and I'm going to ask if there's any way we can get these properties rezoned. Okay? That's only fair. If you can't build on them and you can only have hay on them or livestock on them, you ought to be able to have that rezoned from R to A. Another issue that has been brought to my attention is health issues. And I went to Valley Rally in September. Was that September? Yeah. And on the 13th, a woman sent me this. I spoke to you at Missouri Valley Rally. I gave you the wrong information. She was having an allergic reaction to this PCE every time she had alcohol. And it was actually, it is actually something her doctor identified. There's an allergic reaction rash that occurs with alcohol with TCE exposure called degreaser's flush. Wanted to have that right in info in case you talk with other people about it. So she was having an allergic reaction from the TCE. Another woman in Cottonwood Hills has a health issue where she has problems with her tendons, and the doctors, it's like they're disintegrating, and she does not know if it's from the TCE or not. but she's never had health issues before, so it's directly affecting her day-to-day life. And then I received this in September, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Read your bio regarding the TCE. I just had a brain tumor removed, so I'm really curious to see if anybody else has had any health issues. My husband has been sick. We've lost 2 dogs to cancer, so there's that. Could be a coincidence, could be the water. We do have a water filtration system, and they come, I think, every other month to test it. We would very much like to build on another parcel of our land for our son, and we were told by the county that we cannot. It's really disheartening when you spend all of this money on land, and then you find out your water is poisoned, and then you find out that you can't even build on it. Anyways, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this makes sense. Also, we drank it for, I want to say 12 to 14 years before they even told us. And you know damn well the government knew long before they told us about it. I've had other folks reach out to me. I'm just going to stop there with those testimonials. I wanted to give you some context of why we're concerned, why things need to be done. We have a lot of different issues, and I think if we stick together and we talk through them, we can problem solve through them. I am a firm believer, for every problem, there's a good solution. So with that, I want to introduce the people that helped organize this. First, I want to introduce Jackson and Julie Summers. You guys would stand up. Jackson, he came into a Board of Supervisors meeting and wanted to talk, and they didn't have time to hear him, and he left the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I was on his heels. And I met him with Mr. Ron Pike and Jim Dibelbest that same day, and they shared a little bit about how TCE was affecting them in their life. In addition, we have Mr. Jason Regis, and Jason is a disabled Army vet, and Jason actually is, he's a pretty special guy. He set this up and called me and said, hey Mary Jo, we can do it Tuesday night at my church. And so make sure you thank him for organizing this and getting us all on track. He is a pretty neat person, and I've gotten to know him in the last few days and hear his story, and I am anxious for you guys to hear that. And then there's my husband, Brad Doyle, and he keeps me on track. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, I want to thank each of you. I know I've had the opportunity to talk to several of you, and I hope we have some time at the end of the evening where you can talk and express your concerns and share a little bit about yourself too. I'm going to pass a couple items around as we're talking. The first one is the latest and greatest map with 143 wells. We have 19 wells that are contaminated. If you haven't seen the map yet, it'll give you the opportunity. On the back side is how far away I am from a well. And I'm about 2.5, less than 3 miles from a hot well myself. So Jackson had these really great packets that he brought to the Board of Supervisors. They should be public because he gave them to all the Board of Supervisors. And then I took some and I made sure that the City Council and The city office here had one because he had it addressed to them, and I wanted to make sure everybody had that information. I'm going to pass this initial packet out, and with that, I'm going to pass this to Jackson. His background is environmental and wetland specialist, so he is going to be able to explain to you what the TCE is way better than I can, and answer your questions.
Okay, if I sit down?
Yeah.
This is informal.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm actually more comfortable with the microphone sitting in front of people than causing trouble. However, my name is Jackson Summers. Everybody calls me Jack, JD, Jackie, I get all kinds of names. But anyway, here I am. My wife prepared this for me, so I'm embarrassed compared to my puppies there. I'll give you a little my education background. I was environmental. Can everybody hear me okay without this? You can't, okay, I'll use the mic. My education is environmental biology. Have a sociology background as well. I've worked for the state of Illinois, the Department of Conservation there, which is the IDNR now. It was the Department of Conservation at the time. From there, I went on to work for USDA, Soil Conservation Service. And from there, I worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service under the Department of Defense, Department of the Interior. I've been a government contractor for the last 30 years. I speak the language of a lot of the agencies out there, state and federal. I speak their language a lot, so I understand their needs, their wants and desires a little better than most people, I guess. I am a Missouri Valley resident, yes. I live out on 315th Street. My home is indeed currently being monitored for the TCE. We're one of the fortunate ones. So far, ours has showed up below detectable limits. However, that could change at any moment. You know, this stuff is active. It moves, it stalls out. They're still trying to track, you know, the direction and headings. They've got general ideas of where it's heading, but, you know, basically we've got underground streams, and they intersect, they go under each other, over each other in different directions. So it's really kind of hard to predict where this stuff eventually, you know, will wind up. I'm just kind of jumping ahead a little bit, sorry about that. The plan of direction. I'm not sure what kind of plan of direction I can establish, but I think between all of us we can come up with a good idea of what we can do and where our best time is best spent. Next slide, please. The history of the TCE contamination. Once was said it was the former Atlas missile site. It was an industrial solvent that was released into the groundwater either intentionally or accidentally or a little bit of both, who knows. We went there back in the 50s and early 60s to watch them do it. I'm not sure of the stats here. I've heard the original missile site is 288 acres and roughly half of it has been developed. Does that sound about right? Is that correct? Okay. 2013, TCE was first discovered in the wells, Groundwater is spreading via a play called a plume, which is a kind of a lovely word for something that's not so lovely. It sounds like this, well, beautiful feather-like thing moving around. Something terrible. It seems to be moving in mostly a northerly trajectory that's kind of swinging west a little bit, I think, as well, it appears. Yeah, we've already talked about this being monitored by the Corps of Engineers. Now, I will say also, in talking with several of the folks out there, some people said that they're not getting monitored anymore. They're not seeing their people come out, not getting results of that. And I think what happened is about 6 months ago, the Corps had to renew the easements. And they sent out a form letter that had all the easements you were supposed to re-sign in order for them to have permission to get on your land. Some folks did not receive those letters and therefore they got dropped. So anyone that has noticed that they're not being tested anymore, you need to get a hold of Mr. Sawyer with the Corps of Engineers, and we'll have his contact information as well. True cleanup is highly expensive and just dang near impossible. I know that they've been trying a few different methods, one of them being an injection of iron, a type of iron. And first reports I read seemed like they were having some pretty good results from it. They were encouraging results. But I don't know that that continued.
It was too expensive, is what they.
Okay, that makes sense then. And they do provide, the Corps has provided homes, contaminated wells, the filtering systems. I don't think that if you go out and, if you were to go out and put a well in the contaminated area, they're not gonna come in now and put another system in for you. You're gonna have to do that on your own, if anybody does have that. And we have had in the county at least, and I'm aware of one well that was put into the affected area. I won't go into how I got there, and all I can tell you, it's there. There's one, at least one. And I'm aware of. Current well map. Okay, that, I didn't know how well that would come out. If you can see that very well or not. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking to the mic very much. But you see the clusters of green, and in between there's some red. Those are the bad. The red is bad, obviously. Yellow is not good. And green is below detectable limits. But if you look at that red, you can see how it sort of makes an arc moving at a north and westerly trajectory. And if you look in between where the railroad tracks lay out, I need a pointer, and the bridge over the Boyer River, there is a contaminated well right there. So it appears to be moving towards Missouri Valley. So Missouri Valley, if you think you're out of harm's way, there we go. You can just point while I'm dead.
And that pretty fast, yeah.
That's nice. So here's what I'm pointing out right here. This red, my hands are so shaky. I'm sorry. I've got.
And that base goes down in the 50s, correct?
Yes, it was
61.
I think the official shutdown.
National Guard after that. They never mentioned it.
So basically it swoops right through there. There's that last well right there that they found. It's a bad one. And so it has, it's making its way.
You got a cat?
Next, please. And trichloroethane, TCE, which I'll just try to say TCE as much as possible instead of trichloroethane. It is an industrial solvent. It was used to degrease metal. It has been well documented as toxic, persistent, and mobile in the environment. And if anybody has a television set and has been watching many commercials, you've probably seen the Camp Lejeune. If you were a Marine Corps vet, served at Camp Lejeune, blah, blah, blah. It's the same, crap that is in our water. It's the same thing. It's a TCE. It's serious stuff. So, it is found in the soil, air, and groundwater. There is talk that it can volatilize, vaporize, and come up through your basement, similar to like radon would do. So that's something else to keep in mind. Even though your water may be clear and good and fine, you may be getting vapors coming up through in your basement. So that's another concern to keep in mind.
They are running a test on that right now.
Are they? Good.
So, that was my understanding.
You covered this earlier. General well tests do not typically test for that chemical. If you you've got to ask for that specific test. If you don't ask for it, you're probably not going to get it. It is a colorless, sweet smelling liquid. TC, I'm not going to say I smell it. TCU will break down slowly. This is the good news. It'll break down, but it's slowly in the environment. And worst of all, the byproduct is even worse than the original. So in the past, 60 years, apparently hasn't broke down a whole lot at this point because it's still there now. So I don't think we're going to wait another 60 years for it to break down on its own. This does rate in the top 10 of all of the environmental toxins in the United States. It's nasty. Next, please. In talking with people around town and such, I've found personally that a lot of the community isn't even aware. They're uninformed, and the ones that have been made aware, it's been so long and we're not seeing much happening, we kind of fall into a place of complacency and don't even think about what's going on with our lives. But it will come back to haunt us if we don't do something. And we can't wait around for government agencies to come in and save us and help us. We've got to be heard to speak the word. Potential health issues such with long-term exposure, but I'm saying any exposure, honestly. It's a human carcinogen. That's a cancer causer. It's known for liver, kidney, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, nervous system effects, headaches, dizziness, confusion, poor coordination, fatigue, nerve damage, reproductive and developmental effects, liver and kidney toxicity, lung issues. And while we're kind of on that, I just want to mention that I don't know that there is a direct connection, but I live on 315th Street, and within a quarter-mile stretch, we have 4 homes. The first home, my neighbor to the east of me is Mr. Ron Pike. Ron has had skin cancers for how long now, Ron? 08. Since 08. And they just keep hacking away at it. I personally, I've had, I don't know, north of a dozen, somewhere between 12 and 20 skin cancers removed from me since moving here. Never before. Just learned with another neighbor, I won't name him because I didn't get a chance to talk to him, see if it's okay to share it with him, but he's right close by. He just had 3 of them removed from him. And the very next house down is a known contaminated well, and they lost both the dad, the mom, and the daughter. All 3 died from cancers. I don't think that's coincidental. Anyway, next slide, please. Here's the problem. As of 2025, at least 1 well permit has been granted by our county zoning board against the recommendations of CORE and IDNR.
I'll pass that letter around.
Now, why would that concern us? Well, it's for the health of the people, number one, that put the house in the well, they're going to be drinking, and it puts them in jeopardy. But also as our wells around. When you drill a well, you could intersect any of those streams that I talked about earlier. And that intersection can cross-contaminate with, if you had a good well to start with, guess what? You might not have a bad one. And it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, maybe next month, whenever, but it could happen. And all the work that has been put into this by the Corps with all the studying all these years, you go messing with the flow by putting in another well, guess what? All your studies are pretty much start over again because you don't know how that may have affected the aquifer system. So I put in then this compromises clean wells and contributes to the spread of disease water supplies. Legal cases are ongoing in the United States. Personal injury, environmental cleanup, property, real estate claims, government accountability, all those things are what I talked about with the Camp Lejeune thing. We were supposed to have an attorney firm FaceTime in tonight. Apparently they had some sort of conflict of interest. And Mary Jo reached out to a firm in Omaha. They took a look at it and said, this is too big for us. So they have recommended another firm down in Texas. And so we'll be reaching out probably more than one. We'll see how this.
I think there's 3 that they recommend.
Okay. Good. Next slide, please. Just the annual update as of May 21st, there was 143 wells sampled since 2013. 19 had concentrations greater than the minimum level of 5 micrograms per liter. 8 wells with TC concentrations less than 5, less than 5, and 116 were non-detectable or below detectable limits. Doesn't mean it's not there, it's just their test will maybe go that low. Important to note that not all the homeowners have given the Army Corps of Engineers permission to come out on their land and test it. So there is an unknown number of wells that's absolutely still could be contaminated we're not aware of. Next slide, please. Local issues, of course, paramount is community health, the health of our families, the health of our friends, our neighbors, everyone. That's topmost, that's utmost. Next is our property values. And then third down the list is our taxes. And honestly, I think we need to address all 3 at the same time, the 3-prong attack. I really would think that our taxes would be the least entangled one to get through and get something to happen with, followed by property values, and then health. Because you know they're going to drag their feet. You know, ultimately, the Department of Defense is liable for what has happened out there. It was under their watch. Now, that doesn't affect our taxes. That's something we need to speak with our county about, the taxes. Our property values, however, that's a DOD liability as well. And I'm sure that, you know, the county doesn't want to see the tax values lowered for our houses because, you know, they've got a budget to meet. I understand that. But the county needs to go after DOD for the lost revenue, but not take it out on those who have a house that should be worth $200,000, now it's worth $100,000 because you ain't going to be able to find somebody to buy it at full price and with full disclosure. It's not going to happen. We need also agricultural needs, livestock and land. There's folks here that may have cattle and other livestock out there. There's no filtrations, there's no treatment systems in place that I'm aware of for that stuff. And can it get into the meat? I've heard no, but I really doubt that. I highly doubt that. I am a biologist. I cannot imagine that's an impossibility. We spoke earlier that homes and land are being sold without full disclosure by real estate agents and homeowners. This happened to me and some other folks I'm sure out here. Marked, well, was checked, everything's fine. That's it. No known toxins, no known problems on this land. Had I known, I wouldn't have bought it. It's that simple. I mean, I love the house, I love the area, I love all the neighbors, but we would have kept looking. We need to have some leadership accountability, and I won't say any names, but you know who you need to look to in the county agencies and stuff. We've got lists of the state and federal folks. Get a hold of them, of course. You always got your state and federal representatives too to call them up. Keep burning up that phone line with them. We may have to produce a letter that we can read off with each phone call. That'd probably be a good idea.
So we have their information posted out there on a table of officials that you can reach out to. In addition, you can reach out to your local board of supervisors. Again, I'm going to a planning and zoning meeting this week on Thursday. And there is a Department of Health here in Harrison County, and I haven't heard anything from them yet, but I would think that they would start getting involved at some point.
Until then, well drilling within the affected zones needs to stop for the protection of the community, the protection of existing wells. And it puts the county in a position of liability. If they okay a well, and that well then affects yours, you've got legal remedy against the county. Next slide, please. What can we do? In the back, we've got an anonymous health survey. Don't put your name on unless you just really want to. Just put a check mark. Any health issue that's on there that you have had or somebody in your household has had, people that spend time in your household, grandkids, children, whatever, that have anything, make a mark. 2 cases, whatever. There's an other category as well that cover anything like skin cancers or anything that's not on the list. And put anything down. I mean, short of a ingrown toenail, but something of major importance. Contact federal, state, county, local officials with your concerns. If you're in the current zone of potential impact, have your water source tested. And you can get it for free. If your water monitoring is stopped, we address that and reach out to the Corps of Engineers. I know Ron's has stopped, and they never sent him a letter. And when I spoke with the Corps about earlier, when I was speaking with the Corps, I called them back several times because I wasn't too keen on the language and the easement and what all it said. So I asked them to alter the language to something I felt more comfortable with. And so it took a little bit of time back and forth between their lawyers and the real estate, but they got it to me. And in that conversation, he shared with me, so not many people have got these back to me. You're about the only person that's responding, so I'm not forgetting you. And so when speaking with Ron, I found out his monitoring stopped. Well, that he didn't receive the new easement assigned, and I'm assuming that's probably happened more than just to him. I see heads nodding, so I'd say that's the case. If you will, also please sign the contact form in the back of the room to stay informed of all future activities. And please share with neighbors, any other social or media sources. And if you got somebody that works for a TV or newspaper or radio, they've got iTeams, hey, we'll be reaching out to those folks as well. So I want to thank everybody for being here once again. Thank you to the church for providing this for us. And yes, sir.
Do you know of any filtration systems to filter that TCE out of the water?
Well, the filtration that they have supposedly does. I've not seen one. I've seen pictures of them. It's a carbon filter that comes in. There's a place to test in between. It goes to a secondary carbon filter. And they test it before it goes in the middle, and afterwards is what I understand. I've seen heads nods, so I must be right. So now, everyone that has those, I've asked the same question. Can you drink it? You do?
Oh, yeah.
I've had a lot of ale. I'm sorry?
You bathe it, it's going in your system one way or another.
Well, yeah, absorbing it through your skin is a little less than ingestion. But, you know, basically, your digestive tract is your skin. It's where there's one tube, basically. But it's more, I'd be more afraid to drink it than I would be to wash my hands in it or stand in the shower. But, yeah, I wouldn't drink it. I'm sorry, I wouldn't.
I know the Army Corps won't drink it either because they wouldn't drink it at my house.
It's right.
What do they do with the filters then?
They get clean.
That's safe to clean that way?
Culligan here in town, they change out the carbon filter and take it elsewhere, get it cleaned out, and then they put in new filters into a new tank and bring it out to your house.
So that TCE still goes someplace else? If they
Yeah.
clean the filters?
Yeah. It's
We're
going
spreading
somewhere.
That is an insurance.
I don't know if you heard her question. She wanted to know about the filters and how they were cleaned out. And Veronica answered the question.
I just wonder if commercially available filters at hardware stores, or will those take that out? Or?
No,
I would not trust those at all.
no. They will not.
It's probably a $10,000, $12,000 system that's in there at least.
At least.
Yeah.
For distiller would. Water distiller would work as well. That would guarantee you that.
Yeah, that's true. Except, here's the problem with the distiller, is that you have the moisture coming up out of your distiller.
You got
And
vapors.
TCE is in that. Okay, that's why, when you were talking about not drinking your water, well, the thing is, do you cook in it? Do you bathe in it? Do you all the things that you use your water for, it's in there. So just not drinking the water is not gonna solve the
Water in
problem.
your lawn, water in your vegetable
Right.
garden.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mary Jo, I have a comment about the agriculture whenever we have a chance.
Yeah, at the end, we're gonna talk about ag. Thank you, Jackson. I'm sure he wondered what was going on when I started chasing him down the hall at the Board of Supervisor meeting, but when he passed out the packet of information, I knew he knew what he was talking about. The fact that he lived in the area was pretty impressive to me, that I will say this for Jackson, he has gone to the Board of Supervisors, he's gone to planning and zoning, he's tried to educate them on the issue, and he hasn't been heard. So next I'd like to introduce Jason. And Jason owns land next to Jackson. And Jackson shared my information with Jason. And Jason, do you care if I read this real quick? Jason sent this to the current Iowa House District 15 representative. Hello, I'm reaching out because we are one of the landowners that are affected by the contaminated groundwater outside of Missouri Valley. I am looking to really start trying to shake the tree in order to get some kind of a plan to either get rural water, clean up the contamination area. Shoot, I would even go with the water point, we could truck water in, but I really want to start building this summer, but cannot until there's something that even slightly resembles a plan to get water. I've talked to a couple of ECHO lawyers, quite a few veteran organizations, just to see if they could get help with this issue and get this issue in front of someone. I haven't yet really tried to pull the trigger on an actual plan though. I'm hoping with this being in your district, you can maybe help me aim where I need to start with this process. I have quite a bit of funds offered from the veteran organization and letters of support from my church and community members. I know that will only get me out so far though. If the state is here excuse me, I'm sorry. If the state is stopping me from drilling a well until the federal government cleans up the contamination they caused. I moved here from Arlington, Nebraska, and we had rural water out there due to the water contamination. Why can't we put a similar water system here? I do want to mention there was a Atlas missile base out that direction and one in Bellevue too, the Bellevue area. Or the contamination is down over 500 feet, why can't I drill a well, say 200 feet? Then go to horizontal like they do with natural gas. It seems like there has to be some kind of an option here. I saw you were in the Marines, so I'm sure you'll understand this way of thinking. I was an engineer for the Army, then reclassified to EOD. What's EOD again?
Bomb disposal.
I did bomb disposal. So just telling me something isn't possible doesn't set well with me. I don't want to take up much of your time with this issue because I know it's a small group of people affected, and I'm sure you have other things that are a bigger picture to focus on. If you need any info on it that I've been gathering, or if there's anything you can advise me on to do, I would appreciate it. Thanks much, Jason Regis. And again, he didn't receive a response, and this was wrote January 30th, 2025.
So I'm basically just one of you guys. I'm one of the property owners out there. But I am a veteran. I don't, I'm not one that, I don't go out looking for a discount. I don't often tell people I'm a veteran. A lot of times when people ask me what I do, I just tell them I'm a dad. And that takes up a lot of my time.
Thank you for your service.
What's that?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. There, a little better. All right. So one of the things, before I get too far into it, so the reason why they are saying that TCE can't get into cattle or other livestock is because they don't drink enough water in a day. So it can get into people that drink, hopefully, an average of 1 gallon of water a day, but it cannot get into cattle that drink 30 to 50 gallons per day. How does that make sense?
Well, and that's not what they told me about from my cattle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
There's a lot of
that's
things that are not
different
adding up from what they're telling us. And now we're starting to build that paper trail to be able to say, okay, why is one person telling me this? Why is another person telling me this? And that's one of the main problems is if the information isn't adding up, then there's got to be something wrong. Like why is this not making sense? So, let's see. Okay, in 2023, 3M. So most of the time when we sue the DOD, it ends up getting pushed to whoever is at fault for what it is. So 3M was sued for what they call forever chemicals. TCE, I would say, falls under that category of forever chemicals. So in 2023, there was a settlement for $12.5 billion to public water suppliers. As soon as they told me you can't drill a well on your land because it could contaminate your neighbor's well, okay, that makes sense. I no longer want to drill a well. But right up the road in Arlington, they have a public water system that stretches all the way down to Kansas. There's $12.5 billion out there. Why has that not been put in for people? Drill the well someplace farther away from these chemicals. And I'm not saying force homeowners that are out there, if you have a clean well, use your clean well. But for the homeowners that don't, or that are more concerned about it, or that are more susceptible to this stuff, why are we not tapping into that money and putting in a rural water system for people? Again, something just doesn't make sense there. Why is our county and our state not pushing for that? The well that was put in is less than a quarter mile away from my property. I've been told for years that I couldn't drill there because it would be, 1, too contaminated to ever use, 2, it would contaminate my neighbor's wells. How can they go back through and approve one less than a quarter mile away that and say that that's not gonna be an issue for people. Something doesn't add up there to me. I love talking about military stuff, and that was one thing that I was asked to do, is kind of share my story a little bit. I'm not gonna get too much into that. I will afterwards if anybody wants to hear my stories. I love talking about it, but I wanna leave enough time because I wanna hear some of your guys' stories, and I wanna be able to tap into Jack's knowledge a little bit more, and have people be able to ask questions before we close it down for the night. But yeah, I know this will be exhausting for people. I'm happy to be a point of contact for it if we need, just so that we have that kind of focus a little more. And if anybody else is willing to do that, that would be great. But we need to get some answers on this, and I don't want to pass the land down. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the same boat where, you know, I wanted to give that land to my kids, but I definitely don't want to do that if it's contaminated and there's no solution to fix it. So, but yeah, thanks for coming. One thing, if anybody, especially having health issues, that's one that I'm concerned about. I would like to invite you guys to stay afterwards. I'm happy to pray with you guys if you guys are up for it. Our pastor Brad over here, he's up for staying and praying with some people. I really want to get this fixed for everybody.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit of this story because he doesn't know how much it affected me. Jason came to my house Sunday night, and Jackson and Julie were there, and I asked him what happened, and he purchased his land through a real estate agent who was performing dual agency. Dual agency means you can represent both sides of the sale, the buyer and the seller. And if I understood him correctly, he was under the assumption that the TCE contamination could be cleaned up in a year and/or rural water would be put in. So he went ahead with the purchase of the property. I asked him who the agent was, and he shared that information with me. It happened to be the broker that I have my license under. So this morning, I reached out to the Real Estate Commission because I didn't want any conflict of interest, and I made my license inactive. We have to get some things figured out for everybody in this room, because I think everybody in this room honestly is affected in one way or another. I want you to get involved in your county. That's what I'm going to ask of you tonight. So there's some county boards that have positions coming open. You can go on the county website and find the application. We have the boards listed out there. Planning and zoning is a big one. They have an opportunity to get one of you in this room on planning and zoning. That would be great. We need somebody in this room to get health. The county health board has a position open. We need 2 positions open. We need you to apply for those positions. You don't have to be a nurse or a doctor. You just have to be a public citizen in the area who's willing to get involved. We need your voices because we don't have very many people from this part of the county involved in our county government. And then we have a position open on conservation. So you can fill that information out through the courthouse or on the website. And Rebecca Wilkerson's with the Board of Supervisors. She came tonight and she actually is championing people from this area trying to get involved in these county boards. We need your voices on these boards. So I am going to ask you to please do that. Then I am going to ask Jackson's wife Julie to explain. She prepared the health survey for us. And then we are going to ask any of you that have some comments that you would like to make, or a story you'd like to share, or a question that maybe we cannot answer, but we can find an answer for tonight. And Veronica mentioned ag, and I will tell you, I have also spoke with the DNR and the Army Corps about wells for ag. My understanding is USDA might have some grant money for ag, and I am looking into hopefully finding a way for us to get some money for livestock wells, because it's people's lives and people's livelihoods that are being affected in this area.
Well, I think this has been mentioned 2 or 3 times, but I'll say it one more time. In the back is a health survey. It's an anonymous survey. And if you can just mark down, this is particularly people in Harrison County. This is for you, your immediate family, or anyone that is commonly at your home or in the area. And really, the purpose of this is just to get a snapshot. We want to know about you and about your health. Just to get a snapshot to begin. I think this is going to be a multifaceted, we will all have to have a voice. And I think our health has potentially been really compromised in this area. There are amazing websites that specifically track cancer in the state by county, which is awesome, but this is way more complicated than just cancer. So this is just a little snapshot for where we're at with our small community. We may be doing more detailed surveys in the future, but it's just kind of giving us some groundwork so where we need to begin. So thank you.
Does anybody have a comment they want to make, or Veronica, did you have something you want to say about the ag wells? I know
Yeah.
you've been working on that.
Well, I pretty well got stopped, okay? I wrote a letter to Randy Feenstra, took it to his office in Council Bluffs, wrote a letter to our 2 senators, took it to their offices in Council Bluffs. Randy got right on it with his people. I was pretty impressed until the Army Corps decided to come out to my house and take a look at what I had. What I'm wanting to do is put calving heifers and lactating heifers and cows on my property from my late husband's farm. And then that way they're not with the bull, okay? So it would have been a short-term thing, and we would be moving these animals back and forth. Okay, I should say, my well is one of the most contaminated wells in the county. Okay, and thank God, though, I do have a filtration system that is cared for. They just came out today and worked on it, but I don't have anything in the lower part of my property where my cattle would be. And all I asked for was another filtration system, not a new well, but a filtration system be put in there, okay? Well, they came out, brought out a biologist and a couple other people, and looked at what I had, and said that since the cattle are only there for a few months, no worry, because it will flush through their system in 2 days' time, and will be gone, and it will not go into the meat. My concern was, these are beef cattle. So you guys will be eating my cattle someday, okay? And I know from my own experience that the body puts everything in and keeps itself going, including toxins. But no. And as my renter said to me today, and she is a registered nurse, well, even if they pee it out, it's going to go in the ground and sit there in the ground. So, what happened then is our friendly Corps of Engineers then got back to Randy Feaster's office, and I have not heard from him since, because they told him not to worry about it. I thought it was interesting when I went to the 2 senators, they said essentially, well, we will look into it and we'll get back to you. Haven't heard from them.
Those
I'm not
are
sure.
which senators?
Oh, Grassley and Ernst. Yeah. So that's where I did, okay? And my daughter, who is working the operation with me, refuses to put the cattle on my property until we get something settled, and I don't blame her.
Thank you. So there's grant money. I'm learning there's grant money.
Oh, wait a second. I did want to say, okay, you were talking about changing to agriculture from residential. Well, if you do that, that's not going to help any, because we're back to my problem. You don't want to put livestock on it.
Yeah, but for taxes,
Well,
yeah, for tax
oh, well, yeah,
tax
that's nice,
purposes.
but what if
Yeah.
somebody wants to use the property?
So the people that in the room that want to change from residential to ag are just growing hay on the
Okay, well, as long as
ground.
that's what they're told.
Yeah, that is
they're not
what
gonna
they're
use it
doing.
for pasture or.
And so, and that I am not a scientist, an attorney, or the DNR or anything like that. I am just a candidate running and collecting information and trying to be a resource for people. And again, it's headed my direction. When Jackson said northwest, you could almost draw an arrow to my house. And so we just purchased our home in November. Had I known about the TCE, I would have probably not purchased my own home, and it was not disclosed to me. There was any environmental issues in the county. So, but Jackson made a great point. So I am currently in conversations with Des Moines, with the PAAB board, and trying to make sense of what is going on with taxes in Harrison County. And obviously, people that live in this area should have some of the lowest taxes in the county, and they don't. They have the highest. They have the highest.
Is that trying to drive you out of the land?
I don't know what they're trying to do, but they are really high in this area. So, and so I am working on that. There is maybe some grant money from the USDA, I'm hoping. And obviously I am being pretty tenacious with my own industry, the real estate industry, property disclosures, and trying to give agents some education. Is there any other information people are trying to get that I haven't heard of tonight?
I mean, I just have a question. I mean, do you think the agents in this area are unaware, or they're purposely not disclosing?
Do I think the agents in the area are unaware or purposely selling properties without disclosure? I am going to tell you, that's why I reached out to Nebraska too. We have a number of agents that come over, they're duly licensed in Iowa and Nebraska, and they're coming over from Nebraska. They're seeing these beautiful acreages. They think it is a steal. They don't understand that there's a problem. It's not on the property disclosure all the time. Sometimes it is, but most of the property disclosures I've laid my eyes on, it has not been disclosed. So I again, think it's a training and education issue for real estate agents. And I think that it's a property disclosure issue. They don't know how to disclose. I've lived in this area and been around this area my whole entire life. I used to party at the missile base. Okay? I graduated in '83, so that's been back a ways before there was a lot of houses and a lot going on. And I will tell you, I've been in real estate for 25 years too. I had no idea until I sat in that Board of Supervisors meeting in May that we had TCE. And the irony of the situation is, I am also a real estate educator. And I went to South Dakota and taught a class, a 6-hour class, 3 hours in the morning of ethics and 3 hours in the afternoon on contaminated properties and how to disclose them. Wrote the class, taught the class, clear across South Dakota, had no idea it was in my own backyard. So I don't believe all agents know. But the ones that do know and are out, that are local, that are listing properties, need to educate themselves on the issue, because I don't believe they always know and understand that when a well is drilled, that it's pulling that TCE through the aquifer, potentially making somebody who has a safe well right now end up with a dirty well, okay? So I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but we need education and we need them to understand how to disclose.
Haven't you reached out to do that?
I have reached out to do that. Yeah, I actually have, I feel like, what did they call her, binder? Because I have a binder of information that I brought with me tonight, so you can call me Binder now. And one of the things in there is the letter that I wrote to the Iowa Real Estate Commission, Nebraska Real Estate Commission, Iowa Association of Realtors, Nebraska Association of Realtors, and Southwest Iowa Board of Realtors. And oddly enough, I also sent it to the broker who did not disclose to me or even tell me that he had been involved in a cell in the area.
What's the feedback? Are you getting any feedback?
It's been crickets. So that tells me a lot. And so we're going to be moving forward with some more information to them, because I think I shared with you earlier, once I commit to something, I don't give up. And I'm committed to you to try to see this through. And we're lucky because many of you are experts at different things as I learn about you and you share your stories with me. So there's a lot of good resources in this room. A lot of knowledge.
Just wanted to bring something up. My wife brought it to my attention.
I want to bring something, my wife brought this to my attention, I wasn't thinking, but when we're feeling all warm and fuzzy about our, when we're feeling all warm and fuzzy about our filtration systems, keep in mind that the US EPA has set the maximum at 5 micrograms per liter, okay? Canada's is 0.005 is their maximum.
Which would greatly increase the number of wells, because I will tell you, a lot of the wells that are green would probably not pass in Canada. Most of them.
Another one, I don't know if everybody's familiar with it, but they started using fracking out there to try and clean this stuff up. So, and that's another one that we might have to have Jack tell us more about, but my understanding, fracking, they pump a salt water or some chemical down there, it breaks up that structure. Okay, if one well can cause this stuff to spread farther, what's fracking going to do? So if your well hasn't been tested in the last couple of years, I would push for it to get tested, because they're creating a whole lot more pathways for this stuff to spread.
So we do have a board out there that the Army Corps left when they were here in May with a Chamber of Commerce that explains a little bit about our land and why they're doing fracking. It's because the Les Hills has some really hard soil, is my understanding, and they needed to do the fracking so that they could insert the iron. The iron they had hoped would capture the TCE and bring it to the bottom of the aquifer where it would settle. Okay? The second experiment they explained to me they were doing is they were using electric current. And the electric current was being shot down, but I think they were having some success, if I understood them correctly. Again, they gave me a lot of information in a short amount of time. It was really expensive for them to use the electric current. And then the other thing they have been testing and working with is the vapor, because soil's porous. And so they think that the TCE potentially could be coming up through the aquifer, through the soil, and into people's homes. So I asked them if they would use a mitigation system, something like we use for radon. And they said that is a possibility. But I don't think they've made that determination. I will, if you signed up for information in the back, or when you leave, if you sign up for information, I'll be sending out an email. I will send out my contacts at the DNR, at the Army Corps, and people I've been talking to in other areas of government to try, and I think we need to write some letters, but most importantly, I think if we can start out with you using your own voices and getting on these boards. That is going to be so important, because many people in the county don't understand that we even have TCE. I mean, I live 2.5 miles from it and didn't know until May, okay? We're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to ask Pastor Westerkamp if he'd come up and have a prayer with us. Go ahead, Rebecca.
There is, and I know it's really short notice, but there is an actual Board of Health meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, there's a Board of Health meeting tomorrow night in Logan, and where's that at?
It's at the Public Health Building with the old doctor's building.
It's at the Public Health Building, the old doctor's building. If you want to go, they usually have a time where the public can talk. I will not be there because I'm a youth group leader at my church, so I'll be with 7th and 8th graders.
Yeah, I moved here, my wife and I moved here, our kids were little, and we've been here 18 years. And I didn't even know for sure all the details of tonight's meeting, but over the last 18 years, sitting in Bible studies with farmers and older people that were from the community, I mean, I heard the stories, and people that watched the missile base being built. And I remember driving out there and trying to find even pictures online to see where the silos were at. And then my wife and I started having grandkids. Our kids got married, started having grandkids, which I love having grandkids. It's a blast. But we ended up going out there with someone and to buy like a stroller from somebody. And we started hearing the stories and just the craziness of all that. And then God brings a really cool Army veteran into my church, and he runs sound on Sundays and helps us do anything that we need done. This guy just goes after it. His kids are in our youth group, and I get to be with the youth tomorrow night too. It's a blast. But anyway, here we are, right? We're a community, feels a little bit like a family. Everybody has a part to play. And I want you to know that sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is to actually fight. And that sounds crazy, right? But I was an Army chaplain, and the Army chaplaincy in the United States military, the pastors would preach sermons on Sundays, and they were called the Black Robe Regiment. They'd preach their sermons, and afterwards they'd grab their muskets, and they would go out and they would fight with their rifles. And I do believe that sometimes the most loving thing to do is to take a stand and get answers, get to the truth. Yeah, we gotta do it in love, right? If we get really angry and we're just mad at the world, we're not gonna get anywhere. But I pray that you'll find the truth, that you get some answers, and especially those that are just suffering. I know money is one thing, but when you lose your health, that's tough stuff. So I'm just gonna pray a blessing upon you guys. Thanks for coming out tonight, and hopefully you'll see some progress happen. Let's pray. Father, Father, thank you that we can gather in this place tonight. Thank you for each person that spoke, and may we get answers. And we pray that the truth will come out, that our lives will get the help they need, especially if it's money or finances, but even more importantly, health. So we know that you can do anything. We know in the Bible you heal people, and we still believe you do that today. So just work in this room tonight. Bless those that came out tonight. May they feel a little bit of hope. And so thank you. Thank you for what we've shared together tonight. And we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate you, and we'll be in touch and try to get together probably shortly after the holidays are over and follow up with some more information. Thank you, and be safe going home.
I want to bring something up. It is midterm elections coming up next year. All these politicians we talked about tonight that are not getting back, a lot of them are going to be coming for a ride here. So now is your chance, there will be, to talk to them. Get in their faces. You have to. This is important to all of us. So, like I said, take a stand. They'll be coming through real soon.
One more thing, if you want to get your water tested, it's the Iowa State Hygienics Lab. It's $51 for the TCE test. You have to specifically call out the TCE test, and then you have to ask them if it's present or not present, because otherwise they test to that 5 mics per liter or whatever that is. We had ours tested. I had ours tested this last summer. We're on a community well in our neighborhood. We have 5 community wells within our development, and it is not present at this time. But you have to specifically ask for that test.
Do you have any information on how we can get that paid for? Because I don't think people in this room should have to pay out of pocket for
I
that.
thought the county would test your
Yeah,
well.
she mentioned there was.
The county will test your well. If you need to be really pushy, the county will test your well, but they will tell you that they only test for nitrates and E. coli.
Right.
You need to tell them that you want tested for TCE, and I have already confirmed with the DNR there is no reason why they cannot provide a free test for TCE. Okay? We got $50,000 in this county for water test.
Sad.
So that's
It is sad.
That's a matter.
Where did they get the money from that? Where did they get $50,000?
Just a bit.
From the taxpayers.
From the taxpayers, yeah.
They can do
And then
10,000 tests.
So tell them you want a TCE test. The Corps is testing it, they're testing for TCE, but not everybody here gets that test, so. Yeah, you have to give a right of way to the Corps for them to test. And if you reach out to me, I know several of you have my information, I will email you Scott Sawyer's information. He's with the Army Corps, and you can ask him if he can come out and test. He is a very nice man. He will probably come out and test. And I think they're here a lot.
Here this week.
They were here this week. They'll be here again in 2 weeks then probably. Okay?
Sites have had, is there a record of any of these sites having issues like this?
There's 3 sites. The other 2 are in Nebraska. My understanding is they're set up as super funds already.
So why aren't we?
Because our county environmental guy probably needs to work a little harder for us.
Who is that?
Matt Pitt.
All of us.
So we really are going to have to push on this.
Is there a blood test you can take to see if you're exposed?
I do not know because I'm not a health.
Your system?
You have to go to a toxicology lab.
Go to a toxicology lab, okay, and they'd be able to check you.
Omaha usually, I think Omaha had I don't know of any.
Check with your GP, let them know that there's something in your water and you'd like to be tested for TCE. That's what I would recommend you do. I will tell you the PCB that's in the soil, because I'm a goofball and I should have shared with you every year after the meeting, the Army Corps provides the Missouri Valley Library with more information. So I went there and got their information. They had in a packet for 2014 on. And PCB, my understanding from reading the 2016 information, the Army Corps' position is people are exposed to it in different ways. So if you have PCB, it might not necessarily be from out there. But I think there's a little bit of this going on. So, okay. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you. If you need something, call or email me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.